Good evening. Welcome to the September 18th, the Parktown Board meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Pat, if you'll call the roll.
Councilman Whalen. Here. Councilman Stanhope. Here. Councilman Romano is absent this evening. Councilwoman Waller. Here. Supervisor Barrett.
Here, entertain a motion to approve town board meeting minutes of September 5th. Second by Ms. Wallwood, second by Mr. Whalen. Discussion.
Councilman Whalen. Yes. Councilman Stanhope. Yes. Councilman Waller. Yes. Supervisor Barrett.
Yes, communications and announcements. I just want to quickly report from eyewitness evidence visiting the farms this weekend. Farm Fest was definitely a success. Both farms, all the farms that we visited throughout the weekend were very busy, and that's great to see. It's great to see the community come out and support our farms during Farm Fest, but also know that those farms are open throughout the whole season. So it's great to get out there and support them on Farm Fest. It's a great kickoff to the season, but there's many opportunities through the season to visit the farms. So please continue to visit the farms, help them, and it's very rewarding as a customer. Fresh food and drinks and everything right there at the farm. A lot of fun activities for families and kids. Just a very fun time, and a lot of neat sweets too. If that's your thing. I mean, it's not for everybody, but that's your thing. So get out there and enjoy our farms and support them. They're a very important part of our economy, of our town. Agriculture is still the #1 part of our economy in Saratoga County, and so again, very important. Now we also had some excitement with some cats, right?
Yes, we did.
Did some pet adoptions?
Yes, right. We had actually 1 dog and 5 cats.
Yeah,
In
great.
4 hours, we were adopted for our pet event, our first annual, I'm going to say. After we got over our talks on Saturday afternoon, just Sunday, we would like to pursue it again. There was a great event. We had microchip events. We had many rescue groups, animal shelter, pet-related vendors, the groomers. Everyone had a great time. The kids, the team had a great time. And we even had a horse rescue group that showed up later in the day. And the kids really enjoyed those miniature bears, the regular bears. Some had little girls. There were a lot of Girl Scouts there. Little girls and boys. Great time, and we're really excited about the adoptions.
Yeah, we do thank the county animal shelter for being there. They have a mobile adoption clinic, and it's great to see that the truck. If you haven't seen it, it's the dogs and the cats, they ride in comfort. It's a beautiful vehicle, and opens right up, and people can get close to hopefully their newest family member. It's also a great reminder for folks that we have a large animal shelter not far from here in the town of Milton on the county complex, and there's a lot of dogs and cats there throughout the year that are looking for a new family. So it's a great way to do some additional community outreach, remind people that there are animals that need a home, and as Councilwoman Waller just said, 5 animals did find a new home in just a few short hours at Riverview Orchard, so very successful. So that's great to
I
hear.
forgot to mention the cart van. For those of you who watched what was going on in Houston with pet rescues and the equipment that they were bringing out, the rescue units that were actually bringing out. Saratoga County shares with 2 other counties a unit just like that. It has medical supplies, cages, and everything in it, and trained volunteers that are trained on how to do these rescues. The unit is there, and we're really proud to have it there and have it on display. And want to encourage everyone to encourage our county officials to please keep funding that unit keep it on the road. I know it's been an expensive endeavor, but we would like to see that endeavor keep up, especially after what happened with this.
Right. Right, thank you, good point. Also want to just remind folks, next 2 Sundays, we have the Town of Clifton Park and Nick's Fight to Be Healed Foundation run this Sunday, right here on the Common. Another great cause, and please come out and join us. It's a wonderful community event. Then the following Sunday is Shred Day. So if you have sensitive documents that you'd like to be disposed of in a safe manner, we can get that done for you for free. All we ask is that you donate some non-perishable goods to the Jonesville Food Pantry. So our friends from 3N Document Destruction will be on site again this year, and we appreciate their consistent assistance with the event. Obviously, we couldn't do it without them. They shred all the documents right on site. So, a lot coming up. Another busy month in the Town of Clifton Park. Any other communications and announcements? Yes.
Last week we had an informational meeting for the Town of Clifton Park Youth Court. We had a tremendous turnout. Lots of kids in grades 7 through 12. It's not too late for any interested students. I see some back there about signing up for Youth Court. And it's a tremendous program. We're going into our 4th year, so if you are interested, you can talk to me after the meeting. You can go to cliftonpark.org and search for Youth Court. There's applications there, and it will tell you a little bit about the process, what the program is about. If you're interested, fill out an application. You can always call here at Town Hall, ask questions about it, or email me at astandard@cliftonpark.org. So we're in that recruitment phase. Applications are due October 11th, so if you're interested, you can get them in.
Yes, and great job on that. It was a great turnout. Again this year, Youth Court's going to have another busy year. I can see from the number of volunteers that are interested in joining the ranks, 7th grade and up. Now, for the students that are here, I know you're here for a class. However, I talked to your teacher. If you volunteer on behalf of the town, you get an automatic A. So, let's just keep that between us, okay? But I'm sure they know I'm kidding. But we'd love to have you. So, but Youth Court has, with what Mrs. Standard has done with these recruitment opportunities, is she's asked students that have been involved with Youth Court in past years to talk about their experience, and it's very meaningful and powerful for these students that have had just an incredible experience. Hear them talk about it, and then obviously it's when you have students hearing from other students about how great a program is, that's invaluable. I mean, I think it's much more meaningful to the students thinking about joining the program to hear from fellow students, their peers, as opposed to just us that run the program. So great job, and thank you to Cindy Scavo for her help that night too. Anyone else at this point? Okay, very good. We'll get right to it. We've got a busy agenda tonight. First up, we have Mr. Robert Fagan who's here. And Mr. Fagan stopped by my office a few weeks ago, and he was so very appreciative of what service that was provided to him by Clifton Park EMS, and he didn't know how to thank them. He wanted to do something, but he didn't know what it was. So he asked me for my suggestions, and I said, well, we'd be more than happy to, because he wanted everybody to know. He wanted to quote unquote shout it from the rooftops. So we don't have to get on the roof, Bob, but we'll stay on the first floor. But I figured the town board meeting would be a great place. So if you want to tell us a little bit about what happened.
I never did this before.
Oh, you're a natural.
No, get at it. I'm going to make it brief. I know you got a long agenda, and like I said, I'm not too good at this. But throughout my life, I've been stung, bit by everything and everything you can imagine. And I got stung by a bee the other day, about a month ago. and that was it. If you ever heard of anaphylactic shock, I had no idea what it was, but I found out the hard way. So look it up, and if you're allergic to something, make sure you have that EpiPen, that epinephrine injector. So I got bit by the bees. I was starting to feel a little woozy, something that I just never experienced before. Fortunately, I had my cell phone on me. Another thing, keep your cell phone on in case of emergencies. And just prior to passing out, I was able to get through the 911, and these angels showed up. Next thing I know, these guys are standing over me. I got the mask on. I got the IV going. Was there something in my throat? Did you do that thing? Through the mouth or anything like that?
You mean like a tracheotomy or
No,
something?
what's it called?
Oh,
Intubation.
intubation.
We didn't have to do that. Oh, all right, very good. So and that's all I remember. You know what I mean? The rest of the day was a blur. The trip to the hospital was a blur, except somebody yelled out, "Hey, Robert, you're going over the new bridge." Somebody say that? That was it. I also answered to massage
You're the
me.
first one.
I have no idea. Like I said, it was a complete blur. Now, how do I tell this little guy, Daniel, can you come here for a second, babe?
All right, Dan.
That's my wife. As adults, you're able to deal with, terrible things, tragedies, disappointments, and that. But how do you tell this guy, hey, Daddy's not going to, I don't know what to tell you, he's not here anymore. And my daughter as well. I got 7 siblings. My mom's still in Brooklyn. How do you make that phone call? How does my wife make that phone call? Hey, Mrs. Fagan. Oh, Nana. But can I read that card? Now, this is my son, Daniel. He's also grateful, I'm sure. And then my daughter had to go back to school, but she wrote these words for you guys, so I really appreciate this. Words, I can't decipher this scratch. Words can't describe my thanks to you. Unfortunately, I can't be there to thank you in person, but you do deserve all of the recognitions you are getting and way more. Just you performing your job saved our family. My dad is my hero, and without you guys, he wouldn't have been here. We are grateful every day for all you do. You truly are heroes. I hope life brings you all wonderful things. So I'm going to let you get on with your agenda. Thank you, Mr. Barrett. I appreciate that, folks. Thanks for your time. But remember, when you go through life, folks, don't sweat the small stuff. Tell the people you love that you love them. And I'd like to give these guys another big hand. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. You can exercise all you want, you can eat good, sleep good, but then life can be snatched from you like that by your beat. Yes. So we're gonna go. All right. So.
Oh, hold on. We're not done with it yet. We put this all together, Bob. You can't leave that.
I didn't want to
There's
bore you.
probably something very exciting on the agenda.
Yes. I didn't want to bore you, man. Forgot about that.
No, Bob? No. Well, apparently we thought you were intubated too, because it's in the resolution. So I don't know where that came from, but
Our neighbor saw Robert before they got there.
Remember Linda,
Said
my
he
neighbor
looked
came up?
really bad, really bad. And then she said there was something down. Maybe on
Just a mask.
Just a mask. I don't know. But anyway, that's where that came from.
well, we're gonna read the resolution anyway.
Yes, sir.
We'll get them another copy, a de-intubated copy. We're gonna so scratch.
He wants it. I did say, yeah, not
So if you could read that, Pat, I'd appreciate it.
This is resolution number 229 of 2017, a resolution recognizing the Clifton Park Half Moon Emergency Corps for their service to the community. Whereas on Monday, August 7th, 2017, Robert Fagan experienced an acute adverse reaction to multiple bee stings while doing yard work outside his residence. And whereas as symptoms progressed, Mr. Fagan called 911, losing consciousness during conversation with dispatch. And whereas Clifton Park Half Moon Ambulance crew consisting of paramedics Stephen Lohan, Tom Walsh, Ed O'Brien, and Kevin Robert responded immediately, bringing Mr. Fagan back to consciousness while stabilizing his vital signs and not initiating intubation. And whereas while continuing to work on stabilizing his vitals, Clifton Park Half Moon Ambulance Corps paramedics transported Robert Fagan to the hospital on an emergency basis. And whereas Robert Fagan's condition required several hours in the hospital under direct medical supervision for full recovery, and whereas Robert Fagan was told, but for the quick response and high level of care provided by the Clifton Park Half Moon Ambulance Corps, the allergic reaction experienced could have been fatal. And whereas for Robert Fagan, it is his great privilege to help honor and thank personally the paramedics of the Clifton Park Half Moon Ambulance Corps. And whereas if not for the quick and professional response of paramedics Steve Lohan, Tom Walsh, Ed O'Brien, and Kevin Robert Fagan's outcome could have been much worse. And whereas the residents of Clifton Park appreciate the outstanding job that the Clifton Park Half Moon Ambulance Corps does on a day-to-day basis to save lives, now therefore be resolved that on behalf of the residents of Clifton Park, the town board salutes and thanks paramedic Steve Lohan, paramedic Tom Walsh, paramedic supervisor Ed O'Brien, and paramedic deputy director of clinical services Kevin Robert for their life-saving actions on August 7, 2017, and for their commitment to excellence in the service of their community.
All right, I move that we approve the resolution with a second by the board. Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Stander? Yes. Councilman Longley?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
So, pretty far.
Yeah. You get him another one. So if I get Mr. Walsh, Mr. Robert, Mr. Lohan, Mr. O'Brien is not with us this evening, right? Right? Okay, because he's probably doing intubation somewhere else. And we got Leah and Mr. Bell. Come on up, sir. Leah Ferrone's here as well. And come on up, Bob. You know, Bob, as you can see, Bob has a wonderful sense of humor. And when you have situations like this that end in this way, you can have a sense of humor, right? Because all's well that ends well. It's a happy ending. And it's a happy ending because of the dedication, training, and hard work of our first responder community. They just do a fabulous job. Whether they're volunteers, paid, they're all professionals. They're all heroes in our mind. Police, fire, EMS, everybody that's part of our first responder community. We can't thank you enough for what you do. And you can obviously see from Bob and his heartfelt thanks. He just didn't know what to do. And we're just here to provide the vehicle for him to say thanks. I also want to say I did talk to Senator Tedisco today, and he also wanted to pass along his congratulations. He couldn't be here. As you know, he has a very large district, had a conflict, but his son is a paramedic, so he knows firsthand the job that you do day in and day out with very little fanfare. I mean, tonight's probably the most fanfare they've had in years, right?
That's what I
A
figured.
lot of fanfare.
You know, the first responders, these are the guys, you know what I mean?
That's right.
Even the dispatcher, you gotta think that dispatcher, whatever that is. You know what I mean? That he was Johnny on the spot. You know, what if he didn't dispatch you right over here? You got a beast of here, whatever.
No.
Hey, Louie, we got a beast of here. No, you know, I mean, if that was me, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Hold on, I'm watching Seinfeld.
Bob's going to stay with his current career. He won't be a first responder. So I think you have a recruitment night coming up. Bob's not going to be there. I'll make sure.
But who would ever think a bee stick? You know what I'm saying? Bee stick for crying out loud.
Thank you, folks. I'll get you another one. Good to see you, Dan.
Right, take care of it. Have that meantime, right?
One of my savings. My daughter wishes she could be here. She wrote that nice little note. It's true. Guys are the heroes. Thanks, folks. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Robert.
You guys have a great night. Remember, she's got a couch. Give her a pat on the back. Throw him a bone.
Visit tomorrow. So I'll bring
Thanks, everybody.
I think if nothing else, we did set a record tonight, most hugs at a town board meeting. I don't think we've ever seen that many hugs, but it's nice to see. I mean, as I said, Bob's got a great personality, and obviously very grateful for the positive outcome of the situation. And so, God bless him. All right. Scott Reese, try following that. Who are you going to hug?
I really want to hug me after what I did on Saturday. My name is Scott Reese. I'm the stormwater management technician for the town of Clifton Park, and I helped to organize the Household Hazardous Waste Day, which was the 22nd one that the town has held. So we held that back September 9th, and we do that for a service, for the residents of the town, and this is the first time that we did it on the second year instead of on an annual. But with that, we still had a great turnout. The people that came out, we had almost the exact same total that we had in 2014. We had 461 residents show at this event, where we had 461 in 2014, but we had 28 more than we did have in 2015. So now that we did it every other year, we didn't double the amount, we still kept it with the same amount. But still, everybody was thankful that we had the service for them. We had over 22 volunteers, that did help us out, and that made this a very smooth operation. Thank you to the town board members that helped sign, everybody in. Checked we had the CERT volunteers that came out that helped direct the traffic.
Don't forget the town clerk.
Of course, will not forget. I could go to my, the speech, but as far as we also have the ECC checking, for all the other paints and everything else that would come in, so they were all a great help, to the town. So this has been a success, through with also with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation supporting 50% of the costs, for this for the town. But again, we had beautiful weather.
Yeah.
Continue for nice weather when we do this event, and again, it's a good event for a lot of people because they say, I'm glad to get this out of my garage, I'm glad to get this out of my mother's house, I'm glad to get this stuff out. So a lot of people want to take care of this material safely as they feel comfortable with getting rid of the material. So with that,
Did you? Do we have any final tally on the amount of stuff, hazardous stuff that we took?
they've been giving us a lot of the data, but like in the last time they gave us the exact amount of, because we saved a lot of when the ECC was looking at the latex paint.
Right.
This round they threw everything into a trailer and have an overall number. So I'm requesting that actual breakdown from them, but I do not have that tally thing on.
Yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. Latex paint is thrown in the garbage.
Yeah, once it's dried out,
Yeah.
so
You can use kitty litter, you can
litter.
leave the cap off.
Correct. And that's non-hazardous as far as what the DEC is considered, so it's just water-based.
Yeah.
So and that is the largest thing that people do try to dispose of, but once they make the phone call, we continue to educate them, and as years pass, there's been less and less latex paint, because every time we ask for DEC, they go, yes, we know that we're not supposed to do it, and add kitty litter and such, so the message is good.
So we did have a good number of residents that came through, or around 500?
Yep, we had
400?
about 500 registered.
And so did we have some that didn't show up?
Yeah,
Because I
we
know
had,
there were a lot of, there seemed to be, kind of moved around a little bit, but when I was by the check-in desk, it did seem like there were a lot of folks that were coming in that hadn't signed up, and we we usually have them come later in the day to ensure those that did get appointments aren't
Correct.
delayed.
Yes, you know, because there's so many that's scheduled for every 15 minutes,
Right.
so we try to keep things flowing through. So yeah, we had 490 registered, but we had 25 that didn't show.
Oh.
But then we had 55,
So we had some that didn't show.
but we had 55 that did show. So
Right.
it made up for the people
Right.
who weren't able to make it at that time.
Yeah, so if you can take advantage of this service, the hazardous waste day in the future, I mean, you have an assigned time where you come that is coordinated through Scott, and you never get out of your car, you're in and out in 5 minutes. Very quick, very easy, painless. So, we'll continue to offer that program. Thank you. I was very interested to see where the number of residents would tally out, and seeing that it wasn't much bigger than it was 2 years ago is interesting. We saw the same thing with bulk waste, where participation was actually receding, and that's why we went to every 2 years with bulk waste. And it seems that has been a little bit of an uptick, only going 2 years. But even with this going 2 years, we're still at that level.
No, it's only
We
28.
did not see an increase, which was somewhat surprising. But, yeah, hey, we can help out 500 families, mainly through volunteers on a Saturday. Well, that's a good service. We'll continue. Thanks, great job coordinating. By the way. All right, we. Oh yeah, sure. No hot tonight. Although you know what, Bob's still out there. Maybe he'll catch him on the way out. But you did get some applause, so take what you can get. Okay, we set a public hearing for tonight on a issue dealing with the Blue Barn on Blue Barns Road. Pat, would you read the legal notice as it appeared in the Gazette?
Please take notice that in accordance with section 137F of the New York State Town Law, the Town Board of the Town of Clifton Park, Saratoga County, New York, will conduct a public hearing on Monday, September 18, 2017, at 7:05 p.m. in the Wood Memorial Meeting Room in the Town Office Building located at 1 Town Hall Plaza, Town of Clifton Park, County, Saratoga, State of New York, to consider a request for a revocable license to maintain an existing structure and wall on highway right-of-way in front of 82 Brack Road at or near its intersection with Blue Barns Road. This was in the Daily Gazette on September 8th.
Very good, thank you, Pat. With that, we'll open the public hearing, and we briefly discussed this issue at our last meeting. Glenn Witticki's here, representing his client who owns the Blue Barn. The owners had come to the town for a permit to do some upgrades to the internal areas of the barn. They were denied a permit because the structure is within the town right-of-way. Now, that barn's been there for a few years, and the right-of-way has expanded since that barn was built. So it is in the right-of-way, but certainly through no fault of its own. And so Glenn is here. Glenn contacted me. I asked him to write us a letter so we had the information of what he was requesting exactly. And then we set the public hearing at our last meeting. Here we are. Glenn, could you, or 2 meetings ago, Glenn, could you please give us your view of the situation on behalf of your client?
Sure. My name is Glenn Witticki, and first of all, I didn't know that the town hall meetings could be so much fun.
Oh,
And
tell you,
just, because there are young people here, just to flesh out the description of the intubation. Now, Bob was not intubated, but just so we all know, if he had been intubated and that got removed, then that would be extubation. And it's true. That's the true medical term. So I didn't want to let the opportunity go to not educate our young folks.
have you been intubated, Glenn?
I've never been intubated, and
But you know what it
never
is.
been extubated. One must be intubated before we can be extubated. So
Man of many talents.
go back to the first one. So I represent Simeon and Camille Slovacek, who are the owners of the Blue Barn.
Yeah.
And the Slovacek, my client's family history goes back a ways. Back in 1951, my client's father, Rudy, purchased the house next to the Blue Barn and raised his 7 kids on that property. And then I think in 1988 they actually bought the barn. So they owned the house next to it, then they bought the barn. Here's a picture of the barn. Running the photos is my son Henry, who operates Witecki Builders LLC, and Henry's the contractor on this job. So they have recently painted the barn. And Blue Barns Road became Blue Barns Road around in the early 1900s. Before that it was known as Balltown Road. And actually south of 146, it's still called Balltown Road, but became Blue Barns Road in the early 1900s. And the name of the road is not Blue Barn Road, it's Blue Barns Road, because originally there was a few hundred acres of property that went with the barns, and there were 2 barns, one of which was unfortunately lost to fire in 1968. And actually this barn, if you look at this barn was actually a rectangle at one time. But due to a snowstorm, part of the end of the barn collapsed and was rebuilt this way. But I'm presuming the town didn't mind that because it gave you a place to put in a nice light pole instead of a barn pole. So, and when we went to apply for a building permit recently, it came to our attention that, as Mr. Barrett said, that the barn actually protrudes onto the county highway right-of-way. Now, and as we say, through no fault of its own, it was built around 1850, and it was built as a horse barn. It has 13 stalls in it for horses. Currently, the barn is used, and it's got 5 acres of land left with it. Now, currently, the purpose of the barn is just, if you go on Henry 2, you can see one of the Slovacek family members, my client's brother David, has his tools all set up there. He's got his equipment, and he goes in to maintain the property, which is 5 acres associated with the Blue Barn, and plus the house next door is an acre, and there's a couple other smaller parcels. So, and actually the barn has its original hayloft door, but my client has tried to maintain it. And it's not a cheap thing to do. It's a quite expensive thing to do. We're not asking for any funds. We're not asking for grants. It's just that because of the historic nature of the barn and my client's passion for it, he simply wants to continue to maintain it. And part of that involves, and this is why we went to get the building permit, he wants to put a bathroom in the barn. The days when you had an outhouse in the Sears catalog are gone. The town does not allow that anymore. So we need, appropriate sanitary systems, water going in and waste going out, in order for the person maintaining the property to be able to use a bathroom. And we want to put a little shower in because on hot July and August days you get pretty dirty with the weed whacker and all the tools, so we want somebody to be able to freshen up. And that's the simple purpose of what we're doing. It involves drilling a new well, actually, hooking up to a new, not a well, but hooking up to town water, putting in a new septic system to take care of the waste, and just maintaining the property in 2017 in an ongoing way that makes sense in this day and age. Now, there was a farm day over the weekend, but there aren't nearly as many farms as there used to be, and there aren't nearly as many barns as there used to be. Somewhat of my vintage, when I went out looking to take a few photos of other barns for this presentation, when I went looking, somewhere in my memory there were some barns that aren't there anymore because they're expensive to maintain. The farms disappear, the subdivisions come in. This happens to be an older barn that's still well maintained on Hubbs Road in Clifton Park. Go back to that. It's a newer barn that the owner built to the right, but he's still maintaining the old barn, and that one's well maintained. But you get to the point where some of them aren't quite as well maintained. This one obviously hadn't been painted in a while. There's another shot of it, Hank. You can see the hinges are kind of falling, the paint's failing, and so forth. So when someone doesn't take care of the barn, this is what happens. This is on Cantor Road. If it gets a little bit more neglected, it starts to look like this when you can see, this takes decades for the paint to wear off, the windows to get boarded up. Excellent. And then finally you get to this condition where this barn is on Ashdown Road, but this barn is already beyond repair. So the question is, when someone wants to come in and fix these properties up, and preserve some of the history of them. You know, do we try to work with them and let them do it, or do we want the barns to decay to this kind of condition? And especially, the Blue Barn is very historic. I mean, the road was named after the barn. And my client actually, most of you aren't going to remember the TV show The Lone Ranger, but The Lone Ranger was a show where a guy played the good guy hero, and he had a horse named Silver. And my client, as a child, was actually happily surprised one day to come home and find out that the Lone Ranger was passing through town on some kind of a promotion, and Silver the horse was actually boarded at the Blue Barn for a couple nights. So besides that, my client's mom was an avid gardener. She was a master gardener, and her ashes are scattered on the Blue Barn property. So for all of those,
I think you should have a sign, Silver slept here.
you know what? I actually thought of that, but I wanted to give you that punchline.
We'll have to throw that into any approval.
So that's our request, is that we simply be allowed to put a bathroom in the barn. There is a part of the barn that apparently encroaches on, not Blue Barns Road, but on Bratt Road, which is the side road. The bathroom we would put in is not in the area that encroaches on Bratt Road. It's on the Blue Barn side. You can go back to it, Hank. And the barn would be over in here. And simple structure. It would be drained out in the wintertime, probably from October to March. It's got a self-draining mechanism in it, so it can't freeze. The insulation that would be in the bathroom walls is rock wool, which is a fire-rated material. The building plans have been submitted to the building department. So we would hope that not only would we have any opposition, maybe some of you might have a story you want to tell about the Blue Barn and your experience with it. But we're hoping to get a vote from the board tonight because we have an opportune weather period here where we can actually go in and do the construction before it gets too cold. So we would hope we'd have at least no opposition and possibly some support from the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Are there any questions for Glenn before we... Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate that. And obviously the owners have taken great care with the barn. It looks great. It's obviously been well maintained, and it is a high-profile structure in the town. It is part of the history of the town. And as we hear from the Historic Preservation Committee, and our liaison, Councilman Whalen, rather often, is we're taking great strides in preserving a lot of the history of Clifton Park, and certainly Blue Barns. Blue Barn on Blue Barns Road is an important part of that history. So with that, we'll open it up for anybody that would like to comment on this matter. Please raise your hand. We'll ask that you state your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. Are there anybody that would like to speak on this matter? Yes.
Mary Martui from Clifton, from Rexford.
Can you come up, Mary?
I just have a very short question.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm here now.
Sure.
Okay. I thought you said that the barn was on a county road. The part that is in the right of way. Is it in the right of way of a county road?
It's in the right of way of Bratt Road, which is on this side, not Blue Barns Road.
The one that's encroaching in the right of way is not on a county road.
Is Bratt Road a county road?
No, it's town.
I don't believe so.
Oh.
So it is.
No,
That's
that's
the
all.
superintendent says town road.
I just wondered if you had the right to.
I think he just misspoke. He meant to say town.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We got any comments from the board? Yes, Mr. Wayne?
I think the only point that I would make, working with the Historic Preservation Commission, is this is a frequent problem that you see. You have older buildings that certainly predate current road patterns, current zoning requirements, and that's always a challenge that I think here in town, we certainly want to work with homeowners. We appreciate the commitment they make to historic buildings and maintaining them, and they present problems certainly sometimes when you're trying to square a building that's been around for 150 somewhat years with current zoning requirements. So we certainly appreciate their commitment to maintaining the barn and trying to push a square peg in a round hole, but something to find a workable solution that meets the requirements.
Yeah, and as a town, I don't think we want to do anything that would take away the incentive for the owners to not continue to maintain it as they're doing now. And the barn's obviously in great condition. So by approving, and this is for the board, by approving this revocable license, it does allow the property owner to get the necessary permits to make the rather minor indoor repairs. They're not asking for a greater encroachment. They're just asking to make the structure, the very old structure, more modern and usable by folks that own it. And I don't think that's a request that should be denied. I think by us granting the request from Mr. Witticki and his clients, we go a long way of promoting the preservation of history in town. And I think if we denied it, we'd be sending the exact opposite message. Any other comments, questions? Very good, thank you, Glenn. Any last words?
Well, I guess, I should have added that, we're not changing the footprint of the barn at all.
Right.
We're not extending it. The exterior will look exactly the same. As I pointed out, the barn is, the bathroom will be in a part of the barn that is not part of the encroached area.
Right. Very good. All right, thank you. We do have a resolution prepared, depending on the comment we received tonight, and so stick around if you like. We do have other resolutions for consideration as well, so Pat, if you could read through those and consider each one individually.
Resolution proclaiming September 17, 2017 through September 23, 2017 as Constitution Week in the town of Clifton Park. Whereas September 17, 2017 marks the 230th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas the United States Constitution was the first document of its kind in the world and has paved the way for millions of people since that have sought democracy and freedom. And whereas the Clifton Park Town Board proudly recognizes that this document has secured the blessings of liberty for many generations of Americans by instilling power in we the people, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document that is the supreme law of our nation and the anniversary of its creation, and whereas Public Law number 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. That it will be resolved that the town board proclaims September 17, 2017 through September 23, 2017 as Constitution Week in the town of Clifton Park, and encourages all residents to refamiliarize themselves with this powerful document and reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution. A resolution declaring a public emergency pursuant to General Municipal Law Section 103.4 and authorizing the transfer of highway funds and payment Tom Cabricki Company, Inc. for excavation and repair of storm sewer facilities on Plank Road. Whereas on April 28, 2017, storm drainage facilities beneath Plank Road near its intersection with Glenbrook Drive experienced a sudden collapse, resulting in the blockage of roadway to traffic and related damage. And whereas Highway Superintendent Dan Bull determined that the situation constituted an emergency under General Municipal Law Section 103.4 and retained Tom Cabricki Company, Inc. to excavate, repair, and replace the existing storm sewer facility beneath the public roadway on a time and materials basis. And whereas Highway Superintendent Bull supervised the work and has verified the time and quantities for the excavation, installation, and related repair work, which included removal of the old cement belt piping, excavation of the roadway, installation of corrugated polyethylene stormwater and drainage piping and infrastructure, repaving the Plank Road across the excavation cut. And whereas Tom Cabricki Construction Services is a listed engineering contractor on the town's emergency services contract with the sewer and highway departments, now therefore be resolved that the town board determines that the blockage and collapse of the existing storm sewer facilities on Plank Road and Glenbrook Road constitutes an emergency for procurement purposes under section 103.4 of the general municipal law. And be further resolved that the controller is authorized to transfer $24,904.25 from highway assigned fund balance into highway repairs and maintenance for payment to Concord Bricky Company, Inc., Danforth, New York, for the emergency repair of storm sewer facilities on White Road. Resolution awarding the contract for the installation of playground equipment in Collins Park. Whereas quotes for playground equipment were received on or before May 18, 2017, and whereas the Play Pro Denver, North Carolina submitted a low quote in the amount of $11,939 in response to the request for quotes documents, and whereas Michael Handahan, Director of Buildings and Grounds, recommends awarding the contract for playground equipment to the Play Pro. Now, therefore be resolved that the town board hereby awards the contract for installation of playground equipment and related improvements at Collins Park to the Play Pro as per the documents attached in an amount not to exceed $11,939 to be paid from Collins Park Fund with $6,939 transferred and those lines closed. Resolution authorizing the conversion work on one new buildings and ground vehicle to install a dump body, side and tailgates, mud flaps, etc. per the quotation. Whereas the Department of Buildings and Grounds requested quotations for conversion work on one new vehicle, and whereas T&T Body King Inc. submitted a low quote for the conversion work on the vehicle, and whereas Michael Handahan, Director of Buildings and Grounds, recommends that T&T Body King Inc., Oldest Union Road, Latham, be authorized to do the conversion work as low bidder for the amount not to exceed $7,988. Now therefore be resolved that T&T Body King Inc., Oldest Union Road, Latham, be hired to do the conversion work on one new vehicle as outlined, and be further resolved that authorization is hereby granted to the controller to transfer an amount not to exceed $7,988 from the lawn service. Resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute a contract with General Code for the installation of Laserfish Rio to provide document and record management services at a cost of $80,161 and create a capital projects fund Laserfish Rio project. Whereas by resolution number 23 of 2017, the town board authorizes the middle of an application for shared services from the local government records management improvement fund. And whereas on July 25th, 2017, the town was notified by the New York State Department of Education that the town was successful in securing $111,212 in grant funding to implement the installation and use of Laserfish Rio for electronic records management services. And whereas the town has received $55,606 as a first grant advance payment from New York State Department of Education, and remaining grant funds will be forwarded on a reimbursement basis. And whereas the Local Government Records Management Improvement Fund program has no local match requirement, and whereas it is expected for the grant to last more than one calendar year, and whereas General Code has submitted a proposal, a copy of which is attached here to update the current Laserfish version 7.2 to Laserfish Rio and expand use of the Laserfish Rio system to departments within Town Hall and the Clifton Park Water Authority. And whereas General Code as a seller recognized by the Laserfish Division of CompuLink Management Inc. for the Clifton Park area constitutes a sole source for the performance of authorized services, maintenance, and product extension for Laserfish software products. And whereas the town board wishes to increase revenues and expenditures to provide an accounting mechanism for the state disbursement of funds for the grant, now there should be resolved that the town board authorizes the town supervisor to execute an agreement with General Code for Laserfish Rio software installation, training, and support as outlined in said proposal, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute all necessary grant documents for the successful administration, reimbursement, and close out documentation of the Local Government Records Management Improvement Fund award, and be it further resolved that the capital project budget for H50 that is attached is hereby approved, and be it further resolved that the controller is authorized to transfer $55,606 from the general fund to the capital projects fund. Resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute an agreement with the Focus Technologies for document imaging services. Whereas the town has been awarded a shared services grant for local government records management services pursuant to an award letter dated July 25, 2017. And whereas the town has received $55,606 as a first grant advance payment from New York State Department of Education, and remaining grant funds will be forwarded on a reimbursement basis. And whereas the selection of Focus Technologies as a New York State Industries for Disabled preferred source vendor was a significant component of the town's successful grant application. And whereas pursuant to the grant application, Focus Technologies has proposed a service agreement in the amount of $30,015 to implement the electronic document imaging services on approximately 122,150 separate paper document imaging. And whereas the increase in the capital budget for capital projects were reflected in the previous resolution, now therefore be it resolved that the town board authorizes the town supervisor to execute an agreement with Focus Technologies for electronic document imaging services, and be further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute all necessary grant documents for the successful administration, reimbursement, and closeout documentation of the local grant award. Resolution determining that proposed Mohawk Towpath National Scenic Byway Recreational Improvements Project at Bishop Ferry Reserve is an unlisted action for purpose of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. Whereas resolution number 205 of 2014 authorized the town supervisor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Mohawk Towpath Scenic Byway Coalition, Inc. to administer a byway grant project. And whereas the Federal Highway Administration Scenic Byway Grant amount totals $416,880 and is administered through the New York State Department of Transportation. And whereas the town has agreed to fulfill grant responsibilities to New York State DOT as project lead agency and point of contact as required by the grant. And whereas, as required for fully federal transportation projects, Clifton Park planning staff and its consultants conducted a public informational meeting on the project on December 1st, 2016. And whereas as part of the project approval process, the town has completed a draft design report that includes an analysis of impacts to historic and archaeological sites, wetlands and water bodies, threatened or endangered species, traffic and other environmental considerations, as required under New York Part 16 of the regulations of Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Legislative of New York, SECR. And whereas a draft design report was submitted in December 2016 for New York State DOT for review and comment, and whereas town staff and engineering consultants have addressed all secret issues as identified and considered and examined by the involved and interested agencies and members of the public in conducting the review, and in doing so has taken a hard look at said areas and made a determination of non-significance or under SECR, a copy of which is attached to this resolution and made part hereof. Now therefore be resolved that the project is, as proposed, constitutes an unlisted action, and town staff and consultants have conducted an uncoordinated review as provided for under SECR, and to and resolved that pursuant to New York State Part 617 and Sec of the regulations of Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law of the State of New York, the town board of Clifton Park hereby adopts and issues a negative declaration under SECR and authorizes the town supervisor to sign the negative declaration form. And be it further resolved that the adoption of the negative declaration shall constitute the SECR decision of approval for the construction of the Mohawk Towpath National Scenic Byway Recreation Improvement Project as noted within the design report and plan documents. A resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a letter of agreement with public people for a class to be held on November 14, 2017. Whereas the preservation and enhancement of public arts, culture, awareness, and opinions within the town of Clifton Park is recognized to be of vital importance to the quality of life of the residents of Clifton Park. Whereas the town recognizes that the community arts program promotes positive youth development, and whereas Mylan Kramer, Director of Parks Recreation, has requested that the town board authorize a letter of agreement for a class on November 14, 2017, now therefore be resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to sign the attached letter of agreement with the public people, Waverly Place, Schenectady, New York. A resolution authorizing Joyce Byfield and Donna Devaney to serve alcohol beverages at a gathering to be held at Historic Greens Tavern on September 22nd, 2017. Whereas Joyce Byfield, Blaze Lane, Clifton Park, and Donna Devaney, Littletown Road, Waterford, are hosting a private celebration at the Historic Greens Tavern on September 22nd, 2017, from 5 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. with approximately 50 people in attendance. And whereas Joyce Fifield has requested permission to serve alcohol in the form of beer and wine at the event, now therefore be resolved that the sponsoring parties are hereby authorized to serve beer and wine at a private celebration at Historic Links Tavern on September 22nd, 2017 from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Resolution authorizing the Parks and Recreation Department to serve alcoholic beverages at Ladies Night Out to be held at the Clifton Park Senior Center, Clifton Park Senior Community Center on November 3rd, 2017. Whereas the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Community Affairs is hosting a Ladies Night Out at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center on November 3rd, 2017 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. with approximately 150 people in attendance. And whereas Milo Kramer, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Affairs, has requested permission to serve alcohol in the form of beer and wine at the event, now therefore be resolved that the sponsoring party is hereby authorized to serve beer and wine at Ladies Night Out at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center on November 3rd, 2017 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Resolution for,
Resolution authorizing the granting of a revocable license to maintain an existing lawn structure encroaching on highway right-of-way. Whereas New York State Law 130F through H provides authority to the town board to grant a revocable license to maintain an existing encroachment on highway right-of-way with the consent of the highway superintendent. And whereas Dr. Simeon Slovasic and Camille Slovasic have applied to the town board for permission to maintain the existing exterior walls and structure of the Blue Barn at 82 Road, Rexford, New York. And whereas the existing exterior walls encroach on the town's right-of-way at 82 Pratt Road. And whereas Dan Bull, highway superintendent, has determined that the encroachment by the existing barn does not adversely impact the use of Pratt Road. And whereas a public hearing was held on September 18, 2017, pursuant to New York State Town Law 137G, to hear public comment on the application, whereas the application would enable the issuance of a building permit for internal improvements and installation of bathroom and plumbing facilities, but would not allow any additions to the building or modifications to the building's existing footprint. Now they could be resolved that the town board is authorized to issue the attached revocable license to Simeon and Camille Slovasic.
good. Any questions on the resolutions? Okay. Seeing none, Pat, if you would read the headings and we'll consider each resolution individually.
Resolution number 230, 2017, a resolution proclaiming September 17th, 2017 through September 23rd, 2017 as Constitution Week in the town of Clifton Park.
I move that we approve the resolution with a second by the board. Okay.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Malowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barry?
Yes.
Resolution number 231, 2017, a resolution declaring a public emergency pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 134, and authorizing the transfer of highway funds and payment to Concord Bricky Company, Inc. for excavation and repair of storm sewer facilities on Plank Road.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. Mr. Bull? We got through that situation pretty well.
Yes, we did. Beginning Friday afternoon, April 28th, into Tuesday afternoon, I think it's May 2nd, was how long that road was under construction. The road together was only closed for about 18 hours altogether. A lot of that work happening at night, so we didn't have to worry too much about that. We did cut back on costs. In this case, most of the raw materials that were used came from our stockyard down on Murray Road, and the trucking was done by our employees and our trucks, most of it, not all of it, but most of it. So we did keep the emergency spending lower than it could have been.
Good. Very good. No, I thought it was efficiently done and fixed quickly, so very good. Any questions for Dan? Comments? Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Malowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barry?
Yes.
Resolution number 232 of 2017, a resolution awarding the contract for the installation of playground equipment in Collins Park.
So,
By Mr. Whalen, second by Ms. Waller. Discussion?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Malowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barry?
Yes. Is there anything you want to add on that, Mark? No?
Resolution number 233 of 2017, a resolution authorizing conversion work on one new buildings and grounds vehicle to install a dump body, side and tailgates, mud flaps per the quotation.
So moved. Second?
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mrs. Standard. Margie, in this situation, I know I talked to Mike, the truck itself's in good shape. Does need some upgrades on some of the exterior items, which this will accomplish, but so as far as the motor, transmission, so on and so forth, knock on wood, still in good shape, right? Beth?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Malowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 234 of 2017, a resolution authorizing the county supervisor to execute a contract with General Code for the installation of Laserfish Rio to provide document and record management services at a cost of $80,000 to $80,161 to create a capital projects fund Laserfish Rio project. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen, and as the resolution states, this was through a grant that the town was recently awarded for $111,212, and we will move forward with these upgrades with the Laserfish Rio. Sounds very exotic new program.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Malowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 235, 2017. A resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute an agreement with Focus Technologies for document imaging services.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mr. Whalen.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Malowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 236 of 2017, a resolution determining that proposed Mohawk Towpath Scenic Byway recreational improvements project at Fisher Preserve is an unlisted action for purposes of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. If you haven't had a chance to check out the improvements in the Fisher Preserve and along the Mohawk Byway, brand new trail, connections with Half Moon and other attractions, please get down and enjoy the beautiful area, scenic area down by the river, especially this year with fall foliage coming. It's a gorgeous area. Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Malowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 237 of 2017, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a letter of agreement with the public people for a class to be held on November 14, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mr. Whalen. Myla?
This program is on one of the parent-teacher conference days that are held in November for the elementary students. One day we have a safety day, and this would provide a second full-day program for kids. And we've had this program before; it's been very successful.
What about the cupcakes?
The cupcakes, that's also coming.
Yeah.
We have with Jody Fitz.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one will be coming up soon.
Good.
But yeah, this program has been very successful, as has the Cupcake Challenge.
Yes.
If you want to come and judge that,
Just not good to mix puppets with cupcakes. Any discussion, question?
Cupcake competition.
Oh, yeah. The bake-off, cupcake bake-off down at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard? Yes. Councilman Malowitz? Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 238 of 2017, resolution authorizing Joyce Fazio and Donna Delaney to serve alcoholic beverages at a gathering to be held at a historic town on September 22nd, 2017.
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Ms. Waller. This is a private gathering?
yes, the foursome has played golf as a foursome in 50 states, and they wanted to celebrate here.
They did what?
They're a foursome for golf, and
Oh,
they play golf
yeah.
in all 50 states.
Right.
And they wanted to have a little celebration.
Yeah, that's great. Great place to have it. If the reason we pass a resolution is if you want to partake in alcoholic beverages on town property, you need a resolution from the town board to do so. Not that anybody in this audience would do that without a resolution, but just saying. Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, so we can approve it. I wasn't accused. You always have the necessary clearances.
Councilman Webb?
Yes.
Councilman Standard? Yes. Councilman Wallen? Yes. Supervisor Travis?
Yes.
Resolution number 239, 2017, a resolution authorizing the Parks and Recreation Department to serve alcoholic beverages at Ladies' Night to be held at the Park Senior Community Center on November 3rd, 2017.
A lot of parties going on.
So moved. Second?
Moved by Ms. Waller, second by Mrs. Standard. Discussion.
Councilman Webb?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Wallen? Yes. Vice Mayor?
Yes. Is there anything you wanted to say about ladies' night?
Oh, okay.
Beginning of November, we're very excited to have it again. It was very successful last year. We moved it from Boone's Tavern to the larger space at the Senior Center. And this year, for the first time, we have a local liquor store that would like to do a wine tasting.
Ah,
And so we were hoping to offer that. It would be a great idea, and
Right.
appreciate the board's support on it.
well, sounds very nice. So, that's right. On to the next.
Resolution number 240 of 2017, a resolution authorizing the granting of a revocable license to maintain an existing guard structure encroaching on the highway right of way.
So,
Second?
By Mr. Whalen, second by Mrs. Standard. Dan, was there anything you wanted to add to the
No.
conversation?
No, I
Should have asked you before.
We've been going around the barn for decades. We're going to keep going around the barn as long as it doesn't get closer to the road. So,
As long as it doesn't take up and get moved into the road.
it's lucky because it's on a corner where we're not going by at 25, 30 miles an hour and spraying snow, so it's a good spot.
That's right.
If it has to be close to the road, it's a good spot.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Okay, well, I think we've said all we need to say. I appreciate your client's patience. We do have to go through a little bit of a process to make sure this is done correctly and legally, which I'm sure you can understand. Yes, Mr.
just
Webb.
one point of clarification. Does the license run with the land or
No.
does it apply only to the applicant in this case?
Well, yeah, I don't think the statute says whether it only applies to the applicant, but it most certainly does not. It's not done.
It runs with the land, but it's limited to the building. So if, for example, this building were to come down and somebody wants to rebuild something, this license would not allow that to happen. So this license runs, I believe, runs with the land.
I mean, that's my point. Like the property was sold next year with the license carry over. to
I believe so.
the
I think
property
that, my understanding is it's not going to be sold. But my understanding is the license would remain so long as the structure remained on its existing footprint. But it is revocable. If the town, for some reason, came in later and said we can't continue it, revocable means it can be revoked by the town.
Yeah, I don't, I haven't done one of these before, so
No,
I
yeah,
don't know
that's
how
fine.
that would go.
Yeah, the fact that it's revocable is, means it's not forever.
No, I mean the fact for me, I mean the fact that it could, theoretically, carry over to the next property owner. A negative, per se.
Right.
Sitting here all of a sudden at the point, going back to my ZBA days,
Right.
variant, those types of variance issues.
Talk about that.
Just sort of weird, but given the possibility of it, I don't see that.
Right. Oh, you can renew it also.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard? Yes. Councilman Wallen? Yes. Vice Mayor?
Yes. Very good.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Any other business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none, we'll go to public privilege. If you'd like to speak on a town matter, please raise your hand. We'll ask that you come forward, State your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. Are there any takers this evening? Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second by Mr. Whalen.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Stewart?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you.